Brock Purdy healthy enough to play next week in Buffalo? Is Nick Bosa back on the field quickly? This will not be the team that rattles off all these wins in a row. Sometimes it's not your turn to dance.
49er fans, welcome to the Stick 49er podcast. I'm Lucas McLaughlin, here again always with Lucas Ortiz. And the Bills stomped the 49ers in the snow. And the final score of 35-10. And we just never got a handle on it. Maybe like the first couple of drives, and then after McCaffrey went down, the whole team just kind of failed, and everything, it didn't really go our way. And I thought actually before this game that everyone had the same disadvantage, and we could get some turnovers, but nothing has seemed to be going the 49ers way. Thank you for joining Stick 49ers podcast. Lucas, what do we do now? Do we just sit everyone and get the draft pick, or do you think we can still make a run at this thing?
I think the true faithful out there believe there's still an opportunity to make the playoffs. It starts with Chicago. We got to beat them. If we lose that game on this Sunday, it's all she wrote. But we can win the rest of the way, including the game against the Lions. We don't even need to win the game against the Lions if some other things kind of fall our way. I think we need Arizona to beat Seattle, and for us to win the rest of the divisional games. So we have a game coming up against Arizona, one more game against the Rams. And it's a doable situation. I hate to say I was right last week. Thought the game was kind of going to be out of hand. What was it? Do you remember my prediction? It was like 35-16.
It was really
something
close,
like that.
I remember thinking
score wanted to be
you
35-10.
nailed it on that,
yeah. Brock doesn't really play well in these types of conditions. He doesn't really throw a good ball when it's too cold or it's too wet. We never really got a chance to see him play in Philadelphia in the NFC Championship game.
You could say this game snowballed on him.
Yeah. I mean, people had to. I heard. I talked to a client of mine who's a Bills Mafia fan, really good dude, David, and he said he had to get there at 7 a.m. to dig out his seat. Like they actually called on people to come in early and help out with digging snow out of the stadium. So that's what they did. I mean, there were snowballs going in. I think I saw a video of Jake Moody's field goal in the first quarter. The guy actually threw a snowball that almost hit the field goal attempt, which is just wild. I mean, you see it in slow motion.
I don't know if you remember back in the 80s that actually happened in a really big game at the end of the game. Montana drove down. They were going to win the game. It might have been in Buffalo. I'm not sure exactly where it was. Mm-hmm. It might have been in Pittsburgh. It was somewhere it snows a lot. And someone actually, they call it the snowball game because someone threw a snowball as he was going to kick it and he missed.
Wow.
It basically hit the ball.
Can't make this up. Yeah. So that was the kind of game that it was. And they said it wasn't a flake of snow in downtown Buffalo. All the snow was just where the stadium area was, because it's near a lake and there was the lake effect snow. So it's just like a little microclimate of a snowstorm, and it was the whole entire game. As soon as kickoff started, the snow started. There was any snow in the pregame. It was just during the game and after, and the 49ers looked like they couldn't keep their balance. They were falling on their face, coming out of their stances. Ricky Pearsall, he had one target, and on that target, he was wide open and fell down because he just didn't have the wherewithal to keep his balance on the snow. So it didn't look like the Bills had any issues.
Yeah,
they were fine out in the snow.
Right? I mean, they always say like the home team, like, oh, they're used to playing in it, and I always think, no, they're not. Like, but they were. And they not only they acted like there was no snow. They stomped on us. So
yeah, and it's not like they practice in the snow. Every team has an indoor facility. If it's snowing and cold outside, they're in those nice, warm, fast surface facility fields. And we're in California. We play outdoors in a California weather, so we're not practicing the snow, but neither are they.
Yeah,
and they were just able to have the right cleats in, and were much more sure-footed. Weren't falling down all over the place, weren't slipping. It was a very, I felt like both offenses had to have a somewhat vanilla play calling.
Yeah.
I mean,
the run was working well for both teams, for the most part. But then when we get down there, we can do anything, and they would just go down and score.
Yeah, well, Pajuszczyk had a huge fumble. That
Yep.
was that was one big drive where it looked like we got it going, get to
Oh,
the goal line, and just as he's about to score, somebody knocked it out. I forget the name of the. Maybe it was Russell Douglas. I think
yeah.
punched it out, or maybe it was Taylor Rapp. I think it was Taylor Rapp that punched it out just as Kyle looked like he was about to score. So,
And now we're at a point where we're about to get Greenlaw back,
mhm.
and the defense just looks terrible. Not they were in the snow. It's hard to see how they really look in the snow, but the previous game, it was just same scenario. The Jacobs had a career day, and the defense right now is just really not stopping the run, and they're teeing off on it. It's really disheartening to watch. And Warner, I'm starting to wonder if maybe he should just sit out for a while and see if
Just let the
get
ankle
healthy.
heal. Is it
Yeah,
worth it? Is it worth it having it in there and making it worse?
yeah.
This game, it wasn't our
Higgins
tackling
held
that
in
was
there.
the issue, like
Yeah,
like it was against the Packers. Felt like we were getting to Jacobs, but he was just breaking tackles or dragging defenders for another 5 yards. This game, we weren't even touching some of the running backs.
yeah,
Fred Warner left the game, and the very first play, who comes in, I think it was Jalen Graham,
yeah,
and he plugs the wrong hole. Then Jair Brown comes in, tries to make the tackle against Cook, and takes out, I think, one of the safeties.
yeah.
And Cook goes untouched for 65 yard, 70-yard run. And I think that just broke the defense. After that, it just seemed like they got what they wanted. They
Yeah.
were manhandless on the line of scrimmage and getting everything that they needed to roll up the score, including one of the craziest plays I ever saw. The pass that Josh Allen threw to a receiver and wound up getting a pitch back and
Yeah,
scoring the touchdown.
crazy.
I think he got two scores. If you're a fantasy owner, you're probably won your matchup because that was an insane play and doubled his points up right there
This
going
might be
into that.
before your time, but there was a play. I think it was even in a playoff game with Jim McMahon for the Bears, where he pitched it to Walter Payton, and Payton threw it to Jim McMahon in the end zone for a touchdown.
But that doesn't count as a pass. So he got the
Oh yeah,
touchdown
this is a
pass,
whole different scenario. Yeah, totally.
and he got the touchdown reception,
Yeah, it's crazy.
which yeah, it's pretty rarefied. It's been done before, but I think the last time it's been done it was Marcus Mariota about seven years ago. I think they said on the telecast. It's not a fantasy football podcast, but I just kind of wanted to throw it in there, like it's just an
Definitely.
anomaly of a play where a guy got like 20 points on one play.
That's crazy. But things went from bad to worse as Brock Purdy's not been playing up to par. I mean, the whole team, how could he? There's no Ayuk. We've got both running backs on IR, and now I know you were saying that we picked up someone from someone else's practice squad.
We all know about the McCaffrey injury. He's been put on the IR 6 weeks minimum, which is
Yeah.
the rest of the regular season. If we were to make the playoffs, there is the possibility that he can get back on the field. But Jordan Mason was the surprise injury. They put him on the IR with a high ankle sprain. He's going to miss at least 4 weeks. So we're left with Isaac Guerrero and Patrick Taylor, who's on the practice squad. He'll be called up. And so we needed at least one more running back on the practice field, or to be activated for game day, playing with special teams. And that person was on the Rams practice squad, Israel Akabanda, the third round pick, a lot of upside, a lot of speed, just doesn't have a lot of experience. I think he was a guy that was on the 49ers radar going into the draft, and a lot of teams liked him, but the Rams got him and have just been stashing him away, and the Niners do it, picked him up when they needed, and we'll see if he hits the field. But I see a lot of Isaac Guerrero in this game.
Yeah, and he's pretty good, but it's just it's tough because you see people online are just all blaming Shanahan. It's not Shanahan's fault. He's dealing with a whole different team right now. There's like $200 million in injuries. It's not Shanahan's fault that we have no Nick Bosa in that game. That changes everything. Once Bosa's out, no McCaffrey's out, no Mason's out, and then Purdy, he just doesn't have a lot of guys to throw to. Jennings is still Jennings, and he's becoming a really solid number one. I mean, he has to because we don't have one other than him. But it's tough, man. This is going to be. I can't see us beating a really good team. That's the problem, right? right now, like I can't see us beating the Packers in a playoff game. You know, even if we have a couple of these guys,
it's hard to see a bright spot going forward when you see more than half of your salary not playing in the game.
yeah,
You got a lot of money going to Bosa, a lot of money going to Trent Williams, a lot of money going to Brandon Ayuk, a lot of money going to Christian McCaffrey. And those are guys that all, you know, some of them just signed lucrative extensions this offseason.
yeah.
And, you know, they're not going to be there. Trent Williams, we'll see what's happening with him. So he missed the game, but I think it was more for personal reasons, similar to what happened with Charvarius Ward.
Yeah.
It's just a dark cloud hanging over this team, but you know, they got to find, you know, some way to get themselves out of the dark. You know,
Yeah.
I think it's a tight knit group. I do think there's a lot of positivity despite the losses.
Yeah.
You know, guys like Deebo Samuel have been saying in interviews, like, our record does not reflect the talent on this team, and I believe that still. I feel like they can still beat any team.
At the beginning of a game, they look good, right? You start to think like, okay, we're going to put it together, and then they just turnovers have really hurt the Niners like more than ever this year, and you know, we got to get those going the other way. And now, I mean, even like what we were just talking about with Warner, I would almost say that about Williams too. I mean, we don't want him to get hurt in one of these games if we're not going to be doing anything. So once we have one more loss, I think we start sitting people. We'll see, but I think, you know, we have to start thinking about the future and at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, there were some bright spots. So we had some guys fill in, and I think this would be a good time to talk about some of the new guys we saw on the offensive line this week.
Definitely. Let's get down in the trenches with Lucas Ortiz.
Down in the trenches with Lucas Ortiz. Down in the trenches.
Yeah, so no Trent Williams. Jalen Moore played decently. I didn't think he was getting taken advantage of all in the pass rush, or, you know, he actually looked really good as a run blocker. Christian McCaffrey got going in that first half.
Yeah.
And I thought this is the first time we've seen the real Christian McCaffrey all year. Then Mason comes in after a Christian McCaffrey big run, and he pulls off another big run, you know, 15, 20 yards. And I'm just thinking, all right, where's this team been all year? Like, this is what I want to see. I want to see these guys, you know, getting big chunks of yards in the run game. So I was really happy to see the offensive line kind of gel with some new pieces. So we had Jalen Moore on the left tackle spot for Trent, and then we had Ben Barch make his debut. I don't think I've seen him on the field yet, filling in for Aaron Banks at the left guard spot. Aaron Banks had a concussion last game and just still hadn't cleared concussion protocol.
Yeah,
Ben Barch looked good out there. I mean, good enough that if we lose Aaron Banks next year, like, he's a viable option at that position. He might even be a guy that you put in at center and replace Brendel, because Brendel's still, you know, probably ranks not just the worst center in the league, but there's only 32 starting centers. He's ranked like 34th or 36th the last time I checked. So guys that have come in and filled in at the center position and have, you know, played 4 or 5 games have actually graded better than Brendel. So he's very replaceable. I wouldn't mind seeing Barch, or maybe even drafting somebody, you know, in the 3rd, 4th round at center. You don't have to put a lot of draft capital into the center position, or even the guard. You can find really good guys in the 2nd and 3rd round.
Yeah, I guess. And then Williams is getting old too. I mean, he's our best player, but he's also getting up there.
Yeah, well, tackles, you want to probably look at guys a little higher up, first and 2nd round.
Okay.
But guards, centers, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, you can find really good guys at that position. I mean, look at Pooney, 3rd round pick. He's been our most trusted offensive lineman this year, you'd have to say, even more so than Trent.
Yeah.
And, you know, Brock he got sacked maybe once, and I think it was a play where he just had to hold the ball and there was nobody open and he scrambled, and the DN on the opposite side just chased him down as he was scrambling.
It's tough in that weather, but he showed some signs of life there.
Yeah, but I don't think there was a lot of pressure. I just don't think guys were getting open.
Yeah.
You know, he would go back there and he'd hold the ball for 3-4 seconds. So the protection was good. The run game first half was excellent.
It was nice to see Mason and McCaffrey out there finally, you know, and it was finally like you thought they were going to put it together.
Yeah, so you notice what happened in the second half. The running lane started to shrink because the Bills didn't really have to worry about our wide receivers going deep. or making precise cuts and getting open in the middle of the field like we typically do.
Yeah.
So they were just bringing everybody closer to the line of scrimmage, and there just really wasn't a lot of room to block and get some of those big runs like we were getting in the first half. So they were smart. Good for them on making adjustments and not fearing anything in the passing game. You know, if anything, the passing game got worse in the second half. Brock started to lose the grip. He fumbled the ball trying to get rid of it. Just slipped out of his hands as he brought his arm back. And the turnovers killed us. But I don't think the offensive line really had a negative effect on how the team played. I think they were actually one of the bright spots of the game. Graded out, I would have to give them a B plus A minus. You know, just because we only scored 10 points, that's like the only thing holding them back from getting an A.
Yeah.
I just feel like, you know, they didn't carry that momentum into the second half. Like,
I mean, at that point, the whole team was just kind of just flailing, and things just kept getting worse. So it wasn't
like you said, avalanche. It was an avalanche and
snowball. So, anyways, you're listening to and watching the Stick 49er podcast. And that was Down in the Trenches, and we'll get back down in the trenches next week.
Down in the trenches with Lucas Ortiz. Down in the trenches.
So we've got Chicago, a winnable game, believe it or not, up next at home in Santa Clara. So, Lucas, what do you think? What are the keys to victory against Chicago? Since we're going to have so many backups out there, and obviously we need everyone to play well.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a team that scares me because I think they're better than the record shows. They're 4-8, but you know they're in arguably the best division in the NFL. You know, they got to play against teams like the Packers, the Lions, the who else is in the North? The Vikings have great records.
We're in the worst.
So you look at their losses, and they're against really good teams.
Yeah.
This last Thursday, Thanksgiving, they were in position to win the game, and they let time run out. It was an inexperienced quarterback, Caleb Williams, with 30 seconds left, just literally running the play down and trying to call an audible as time was going on. With the timeout, you know, that was more on the coach, but it just shows that. They had a timeout when that happened? They had a timeout, yeah. They lost the game. They were only able to get one deep shot out of a 30 seconds left drive. You know? Albeit it was fourth down, but still. So this team they're experienced and inexperienced. They're inexperienced at the most important position, quarterback, but they have guys like Keenan Allen, they have DJ Moore, they have Cole Kmet. I'm trying to remember who they're running.
So their guys are healthier than the Niners. They're
they have some pretty good, decent running backs. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. They have a really dangerous offense. And going into the season, we all saw them in Hard Knocks, and we're thinking, you know, this team could actually make some noise and be a potential playoff team, but it just hasn't happened for them. But, you know, they're putting up points. Their defense has some Pro Bowlers on it. Jalen Johnson's one of the best cornerbacks in the league. So I don't really see us going his direction any, you know, not too often. I feel like this has to be a George Kittle game. And you can see that he was very frustrated in his interview after this last game. Yeah. He was just, you know, not happy about the amount of targets he got, the amount of routes that he run, having to stay in and help the young offensive line block.
He's been our one solid player too. I mean, they should have given more targets. So right now they're worried about our defense against the Bears.
He had a drop in the game too. They tried throwing a screen to him, and he just hit his hands and zonked off. So
nothing happened.
This has to be a Kittle game. This has to be a game that, you know, Purdy wants to be the $40 to $60 million franchise quarterback. Let's see if he can put the team on his back and win it. You know, Jawan Jennings was another bright spot we didn't bring up yet, but he looked really comfortable being in the cold, snowy weather.
Yeah,
you know, he looked probably like the only guy that was sure-footed in the game, and
he made a couple nice plays.
Yeah, he was like the only guy that gave a damn on offense, other than George, and on defense, I would have to say, Mustafa looked like just like a lightning rod. I mean, he was just all over the place.
I mean, really,
almost made the. So I was going to say, like, he was on the play where Josh Allen threw the ball and got pitched back and scored the touchdown. But, like, you know, you can't really blame. He wasn't really in position to tackle Josh Allen. He was trying to tackle the wide receiver on the play. I think it was Cooper. So like this is a George Kittle game. Yeah,
And I'm worried about the defense. Honestly,
George Kittle and Brock.
The Niners
the two guys that
defense
got to
have
lead
been
us.
playing so sloppy the last couple of games. That's my biggest worry. I think the offense can put enough together to win against the Bears, but the defense cannot give up 200 yards on the ground. They can't give up what they've been doing. They've been pretty sloppy out there, and we've got to find a way to stop the run. And I know that the Bears are good on offense.
Well, hopefully we'll get some guys back in there that missed this last game. Yamada Lenore, I think missed this last game with an injury. Greenlaw, it's a possibility, but got to kind of tread slowly with his the recovery from that injury. Nick Bosa, I don't know what his status is. He's not on IR, so he could play if needed.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is a must-win game.
They can't lose another game.
Can't lose another game, exactly.
Otherwise, you just sit everyone.
Yeah. So score-wise, my prediction is I think we are going to win this one. I was very, very negative last week. I didn't think we were going to win the game. Not in those conditions, and not against a hot team like the Bills. This is a game. This is a very winnable game. This is a game we should win. I think like we can win it by at least 2 touchdowns. I'm thinking 28-12.
I'd be very happy to see us put up 28 points after the last 2 games. Yeah. I'm thinking it's going to be a low-scoring game.
Okay.
I worry about the Niners at home because that used to be such a big advantage. When we play at home, we win because the crowd gets into it. And in the last couple of games at home, I guess we did win a couple, but we need to win this game. And I think it's going to be like a low-scoring game. It'll be 14-10 Niners. And but we're going to play good defense finally and hopefully find a way to stop the run.
Sounds good, brother. All right. Well, we'll see how it goes.
Yep.
Next week, we'll know whether we're eliminated from the playoffs or we still have just a little bit of hope left.
And then we'll have to talk about the next year. All right. Thanks
talking about the NFL draft, 2025 draft.
Tuning in to the Stick 49ers podcast. Lucas McLaughlin here with Lucas Ortiz, and we'll see you soon. All right, this podcast has been brought to you in part by Hat Tricks Media. Go Niners.
Later. Go Niners.
Away from Pontiac. 3rd and 3. We'll see a pickup sometime on the right side, possibly. Montana looking, throwing in the end zone.